At first, no one noticed anything different beyond the silence. The boy was only a few years old, with a gaze that rarely met anyone else's. He lived in a world of his own, made of rigid routines, bothersome sounds, and repetitive gestures that served as a kind of shelter. People around him tried to reach out, spoke to him, called his name, but rarely received any response. It wasn't a lack of love, nor disinterest. It was simply the way he existed in the world. The autism diagnosis had already been confirmed, and with it came medical explanations, follow-ups, therapies, and also the constant feeling that something essential remained out of reach. The boy grew up surrounded by care, but also by invisible boundaries that no one knew exactly how to cross. The family searched for alternatives. They tried new routines, new stimuli, new environments, always cautiously. The boy was easily disturbed by loud noises, sudden movements, crowded places. Any change outside the usual pattern could trigger long crises, difficult to calm. There were peaceful days, but also days when the silence became even deeper. It was in this context that the idea arose to take him to a remote farm, a simple, open place where time seemed to move more slowly. There were no expectations of miracles, just the hope that the environment might be less overwhelming for him. What no one imagined was that this place held an encounter that would change everything. The farm was spacious, surrounded by wooden fences and green fields stretching as far as the eye could see. The air was different, lighter, filled with natural sounds. Wind, birds, leaves rustling. The boy arrived observing everything in silence, holding tightly to the hand of his companion. Each step was calculated, each new stimulus carefully analyzed. It was then that, in the distance, the figure of a horse appeared, large, imposing, with slow movements and an attentive gaze. For any other child, this might be frightening or overly exciting. For the boy, it was simply something new, something that sparked a quiet curiosity. The horse stood still, head slightly lowered, as if also observing. It didn't approach immediately, didn't whinny, didn't make sudden movements. It just stayed there. The boy stopped. There was no scream, no attempt to flee, just a moment of pause. The adult sensed a tension in the air and considered moving him away, but something in the horse's behavior caught their attention. It didn't seem restless. On the contrary, it was calm, almost too attentive. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was dense. It was as if something was being understood without words. The boy let go of the hand he was holding and took a step forward. A small step, almost imperceptible, but loaded with meaning. The horse slightly raised its head, adjusted its posture, but didn't back away, didn't advance, just stayed. The distance between them decreased, and the world around seemed to disappear. There were no commands, no instructions, just presence. The boy observed every detail. The movement of the animal's chest, the shine in its eyes, the rhythm of its breathing. For the first time in a long while, his attention didn't seem fragmented. The adults watched the scene without interfering. The fear of interrupting something delicate was greater than any other concern. The horse then took a small step forward, slow, calculated, almost asking permission. The boy didn't step back. His body remained steady, and his eyes, though not looking directly, were attentive. The distance was now minimal. The horse lowered its head a bit more, coming down to the boy's height. It was a simple gesture, but filled with intention. There was no dominance, no invasive curiosity. There was respect. It was at that moment that something shifted. The boy extended his hand. It wasn't quick, wasn't impulsive. It was a careful movement, almost shy. His fingers lightly touched the horse's muzzle. A brief touch, but enough to break an invisible barrier. The horse gently closed its eyes and remained still. There was no startle, no abrupt reaction, just acceptance. The touch repeated, now with more firmness. The boy seemed to breathe more deeply, as if that contact had organized something within him. From that instant on, the relationship began to build through small gestures. The horse would approach whenever the boy was nearby. It didn't matter who else was there. The animal seemed to recognize him. When the boy sat on the ground, the horse stayed close, sometimes lying down, sometimes just standing, creating a constant presence. There was no demand for interaction, no pressure. The boy could approach or walk away whenever he wanted. This silent freedom created a safe space, something rare for him. As the days passed, subtle changes began to emerge. The boy started tolerating his surroundings better when the horse was present. Sound that once caused discomfort seemed less harsh. Unexpected movements didn't trigger such intense reactions. It was as if the horse functioned as a point of balance, a silent anchor. At times, the boy would rest his head against the animal's body, feeling the warmth and steady rhythm of its breathing. This contact seemed to organize his thoughts in a way no therapy had managed until then. The adults watched cautiously. There were no promises of a cure, no unrealistic expectations. What existed was a concrete behavioral change, something visible, tangible. The boy began showing more interest in what was happening around him. His repetitive gestures decreased when he was near the horse. His body seemed less tense. In one of those moments, something unexpected happened. The boy smiled. It wasn't a wide, exaggerated smile. It was brief, almost discreet, but it was real. A smile that hadn't appeared in a long time. That small smile had a profound impact, not because it represented a miracle, but because it symbolized a genuine connection. The horse seemed to perceive these changes. In moment of agitation, it moved closer. In moment of calm, it kept a respectful distance. It was as if it understood exactly what was needed in each situation. There was no specific training for this. No commands, just sensitivity. Over time, the boy began vocalizing different sounds when he was with the horse. They weren't words, but they were new expressions, sounds that emerged spontaneously, without direct prompting. Each sound was received without exaggerated reaction, without pressure. The horse remained there, accepting, responding with gentle movements, sometimes nuzzling closer, sometimes just staying near. This silent exchange created a unique dialogue that didn't depend on conventional language. The boy's routine began to change. He started looking forward to the moments when he could see the horse. His anxiety decreased when he knew that encounter would happen. The horse, in turn, seemed to anticipate the boy's arrival. Whenever he approached, the animal would move in his direction, even if it was busy with something else. It wasn't coincidence. It was recognition. This bond began drawing the attention of others. Those watching from the outside perceived something different in this interaction. It wasn't just a child with an animal. It was a relationship built on trust, respect, and silence. The horse demanded nothing from the boy. The boy didn't need to meet expectations. Both existed in that shared space, without judgment. As the weeks passed, small victories emerged. The boy began accepting physical contact from others better after interacting with the horse. His tolerance for changes slightly increased. Situations that once caused intense crises were faced with more control when the horse was nearby. It wasn't a complete transformation, but it was significant progress. The most memorable moment happened on a quiet afternoon. The boy was sitting on the ground, drawing the dirt with a stick, while the horse remained by his side. Suddenly, the boy looked up and made a different sound, clearer, more intentional. It wasn't a defined word, but it was directed. The horse reacted immediately, moving even closer. That sound repeated, and again the horse responded with a gentle movement. It was an exchange, a silent dialogue that needed no explanation. For those who live with the boy daily, this meant something immense. It wasn't about spectacular overcoming, but about a real connection, built in the right time, without rush. The horse had become a bridge between the boy's internal world and the external world, a bridge made of patience, presence, and sensitivity. Over time, it became clear that this relationship wasn't temporary. Even on difficult days, the horse remained a point of stability. The boy found comfort in that constant, predictable, safe presence. The horse, in turn, seemed to find purpose in that interaction, naturally adjusting its behavior. This story isn't about a cure. It isn't about magical solutions. It's about connection. It's about how sometimes understanding doesn't come from speech, logic, or insistence, but from shared silence. The horse didn't try to change the boy. The boy didn't try to understand the horse. They simply met halfway. Today, Anyone observing this relationship can see that something essential was built there, a bond that respects boundaries, embraces differences, and shows that communication goes far beyond words. In a world that demands quick answers, that horse taught something simple yet profound. Sometimes, just being present is enough. And for that boy, it made all the difference.